What about Jim Cornette, the great Jim Cornette?
Here we freaking go. Number 30 on my list is Jim Cornette. I have absolutely no use for Jim Cornette. I didn't have any use for Jim Cornette 40 years ago. I don't have any use for Jim Cornette now. I have no positive things to say about Jim Cornette, which that alone gets him to make my list.
Number 30. Did you even, and number 30 is an absolute crime against humanity, my friend. I'm going to put you right up there with the likes of Hitler at this point.
Why not? I mean, that's the new trendy thing to do. Somebody says something you don't like, you're Hitler.
You are a Nazi. You are an absolute Nazi to the core. I thought your hair just fell out. I didn't know you were shaving it off. Jim Cornette, I've got him at number 1. So we're going from 30 to 1 right here. We are talking about an individual, to be is absolutely one of the most articulate, witty, entertaining, explosive, incredible energy. The guy that never meant to step inside of the ring. Solely worked his way into a manager's job, but because he had the gift of gab, he'd hit you with that jab, that right, that left, bam, haymaker. He would send the heat magnet, would blow the roof off the building. Somehow, as a manager, a guy never supposed to step in this damn ring, never supposed to be in the competitions with the likes of a Dusty or a Flair for those big spots, would become and rise up to the number 1 heel, the biggest heat magnet in territories wherever you go.
I think here's my thing, right? There are movies out there that some people think are very, very good, and some people think are very, very funny. Like take Pineapple Express, for example, right? Like when that came out, a group of my friends thought it was the funniest damn movie ever made. And so I sit down and I watch Pineapple Express, and I made it through about a half hour of it, and it was eye-rolling, inducing stupid. That's pretty much how I feel about Jim Cornette too. Just eye-rolling, inducing stupid.
I think you're going with a personal flavor here, and I might be here myself, but let me take it stepping back and looking at the same. I mean, really look at what he did. I mean, the energy he would bring, he could flow in any situation. He perfectly fine. He was a little bit, in that Piper where he was always Jim Cornette, but then he could work. It was unthinkable that he would ever be a babyface, but when he did, he still had that same energy. He still came with that same flow, that same kind of, smart aleck, standoffish attitude. But he would adjust it to see if he wanted that crowd to get behind him, or if they wanted him to attack him, and that's what he did. You look at this; he's in the corner of one of the greatest tag teams in the Midnight Express. They're opposed to one of the greatest tag teams in the Rock and Roll, and somehow in there. We're in the conversations because it was about Jim Cornette. He was the star of his team, and it was all about someone getting their hands on him. Him and that big payoff, that big bump. That's what people were. They were buying the tickets for that thing. And you had mentioned bringing people in. You had Rock and Roll in Midnight working the B towns, and they're out drawing the A show. You got where Dusty and Rick are saying, hey, we need you on this card because we got to build up. We want our house because we're going to take that big cut in that main event. And Jargo, you mentioned something to me as we're talking about this, before air and all this. You said, but was he just mid-card? Was he main event? And I go back and I look at this. There's times where Cornette got to go out there and work just here or there with Dusty, with Flair, and he absolutely could shine. So then you go look at who's got the book at certain times there. Dusty, Rick. They didn't want Cornette working opposed to them. They didn't want him stealing their damn light because they knew he was that good. Now, we're talking what, decades ago, when he's out there in his prime. When he goes to WWE, that they put him in those prime spots, that they're going to put him in with those main eventers because they can't, get themselves over. They've got to have someone here. Vader, Yokozuna. All those little bit, the oddity projects, that not the actual oddities, but those strange and bizarres that they would run out there. Who do they rely on? Cornette, go out and get him over. One of Cornette's greatest promos is, when he's talking about how sick he is of the current wrestling industry. Absolute brilliance. Now let's fast forward 2021. Arguably, he's not even involved in pro wrestling. He's a podcaster. But he still arguably cuts one of the best promos in the business today.
Poz, where are you at with Cornette? Do you have him closer to the top of your list, or do you have him closer to the bottom of your list?
He's in the top 10 easily for me. I have him very high on my list.
I'm so disappointed in you. I should have expected that from a Hogan fan.
Love me some Cornette. I think he's the man. Personally and professionally, I think he's great. But he definitely can talk you in the building, or talk people into wanting to kill him and riots. So I feel like he was definitely up there. Has to be. And the guy makes all this money podcasting, basically cutting promos on people and doing those cameos, making $100 a pop. So I got to put him high up on my list.